So I'm bringing you this video for anyone who wants to make use of the Crystal Beast cards that they got in their Ash Blossom structure decks. I'm really enjoying this deck. I think it's like much better than anyone's giving it credit for, and I'm glad this deck is like finally in a playable position. So here's the profile. So we're just going to start off with the monsters. So first, free Crystal Beast, Sapphire, Pegasus. This is like the best Crystal Beast monster without a doubt. This guy basically like carries this entire deck. Like it's like a control deck, and like it all sort of like centers around this card. So yeah, like I can't say enough good things about this card. Like he really does like pull the whole deck along basically. And then I play one copy of Topaz Tiger, one copy of Ruby Carbuncle, and then we play 3 copies of like the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon dude. So I think these are pretty standard to be played like even in 3s in like a control deck. But honestly, I'm not too hot on this, and obviously as well you have to play like the Rainbow Dragon thing to, because it's just an engine requirement, otherwise this card can't actually resolve. But this card is like it's pretty good, but like it's not amazing. But like the only reason like I'm playing through this one is because literally after Pegasus, the standard of Crystal Beast like monster cards is just like so low, that just because this card has a good attack state, it's got 3000 attack and has an effect to summon itself, like even in despite the fact that you can't even do that going first, but like you do this like going second on like when you're attacking and stuff, just because of the fact that it like summons itself, it means like this card is like good. I don't know, I think there's probably a world where like you can like drop these like to 2 definitely, I think, but maybe to 1. I think like I have honestly thought that like you could potentially like cut 2 of these out and then like replace these like with like another level 4 Crystal Beast, and then like, or maybe just like 2 other Crystal Beast names, just because like it is good to be able to like normal summon them, like for instance Tiger. So the reason why I play Tiger is because with the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon you always want to summon one out of the deck like pretty much the first turn of every game, and so I don't really like summoning a Pegasus off it, because I feel like Pegasus is like just too good of a card to just waste of like that, because you don't have very many good monsters in this deck, because like we're playing Crystal Beast, right? So I don't really like wasting a Pegasus, and like I think if you just summon like another level 4, like it gives you a pretty good like foot in the door into the game, because it usually means that you've like got the ability to make a Dweller, like which is pretty good against like the T element matchup obviously, which is like what I'm anticipating to be just like the most popular deck. But like it doesn't even necessarily have to be Topaz Tiger. I think there is a world where Cobalt Eagle is the best like other level 4 to play, just simply because that card lets you still make rank 4 monsters under There Can Be Only One. So like obviously Pegasus, like if you're under There Can Be Only One and you've got Pegasus and Tiger, you basically just can't make a rank 4, whereas if you've got Eagle you can summon like Pegasus and Eagle together. So yeah. But it is noteworthy though that if you play these 2 instead of this one and Eagle, they can't super poly these 2 because there isn't like a compatible like super poly target, but with Eagle they can super poly this one and Eagle into Mud Dragon, which is like quite annoying. But maybe Eagle is still the best one to play, because like we do play like Lightning Chidori in the extra deck as well. Ruby Carbuncle, honestly this is probably like the most underused card in like the deck as far as I've played it, just because obviously I'm playing like a control version of the deck. I'm not trying to summon Rainbow Dragon, so I'm not trying to like pull this off first turn. So like the reason why I play this card is just so that I have a way to like just summon everything back from the back row like in the later game, just off like the new spell card that like we got in the structure deck. But yeah, so that's like the main Crystal Beast sort of like monsters, and then we've got the 3 Crystal Masters. So this card is cool. So basically you just normal summon it, and then it says that you contribute it to search for a crystal spell trap. So it's just like another layer of consistency, and there's like a new Crystal Beast card which allows you another normal summon of a Crystal Beast. So like this doesn't always like block your normal summon like you think it might, and it's pretty cool that like this card doesn't go to the grave, it goes to your extra deck for like pretty cool funny hand trap that you can play on this deck. And yeah, this card's just cool in general. I want to talk about like something to do with this card a little bit later, and then so like this is now where you have to sort of like make it so that your Crystal Beast deck can beat like relevant decks in the meta. So I'm playing 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. I think this card's great in this deck. So because everything goes to the spell and trap zone instead of the grave, it basically just means that this card doesn't disrupt you because you summon from the spell and trap zone anyway, or you use the spell and trap zone as sort of like your graveyard. So like, and like, you never really have to like worry about banishing like too many of a certain thing, or whatever, because you're not really trying to like pull off any like late game like crazy combos or anything. You're just literally trying to beat your opponent to death in this deck. So this card is like perfect for that. It's really good against the sea elemental matchup. Honestly, like a lot of like the wins that you will have with this deck will be attributed to this card, because like it is just so good. Yeah, I think this card's like pretty good right now. And then like, so these next spots are sort of like just cards that I'm trying. So I think these are actually like your flex spots in the deck. And there's a bunch of different things that I think you can play over these, but I wanted to like try these because I wanted to play hand traps that never really disrupted my own shifter. So like, one of the things that I noticed about shifter is that if you play like hand traps like Ash Blossom, and like anything that isn't these ones specifically, basically, because those cards end up in the grave, it means that you can't just like peel this card as your 6th card. And this card is weird because this card is actually like nearly as good just like drawing it as your 6th card as it was when your opponent like went first, because you can literally just drop this and now like the game changes again because they can't use the graveyard. Like, it means like boards like the T Elements boards are actually like much easier to break, like if you just activate this at the start of your turn. And I like that these cards like basically don't put a card in your grave, so that I can draw this card as my 6th and just drop it. Maybe that's wrong, maybe you just play something else over these. I don't really like Nibiru, but I think that I don't know, like people just walk into like this card like all the time. Like, I always think that this card's like terrible because everyone plays around it, and then I watch people actually play because like I work at a locals, and then I see that people actually just like walk head first into like this kind of card. So maybe it's good, maybe like some like people just misplay and just like lose to it, right? You can also play the things like super polymerization, which is just like a very like simple wall breaker. Like what I don't like about Nib specifically as well is that like this card does suck so much just like drawing it as your 6th card, because like Gamma doesn't have this issue, and neither does like Shifter. But Gamma is something else that I'm trying. Honestly, I don't know how hot I am on this. Like, I did say at the beginning of the video that I thought that like Tier Element was like one of the better decks, or like the best deck, I think, like just assuming because of like the ban list and whatnot. And this card doesn't actually like really hurt that deck as much as you'd like it to. But I think like just the synergies this card has with Shifter, as well as like me not knowing whether or not like hand traps are going to come back into the meta. This card is like pretty good against like Ash Blossom, because like this deck does play into Ash Blossom a lot, and it plays into it like where you can activate Gamma. So like distributors for cost, for example, you will usually activate like Crystal Bond when you've got no field, because this is usually like your starter. So there's a lot of different effects that you try and activate before you control a monster, so it gives your opponent a lot of like opportunity to make a mistake and like walk into this card. And there is something like pretty cool you can do with this as well. So like obviously like you can make Omega with these, but like you always have. But there is a new Synchro monster coming out in Darkwing Blast, and it actually says that when it's Synchro summoned, you can special summon a Pendulum monster from your extra deck, so you can actually summon this back and like use its effect again, because this isn't hard once per turn. But yes, so it's pretty cool. Well, like these are definitely like the slots to like mess about with. I think Super Volley is definitely cool. There can be only one might be cool for us to play, just like main it, and then you definitely like play the Eagle over the Topaz Tiger. And then for the spell cards in this deck, so like these cards are just fucking great. So I want to talk about this one first. So this one is like so good. So this is like the new card out of the structure deck, and I think like this is like this is the best card they could have gotten. Like, I don't think they could have made a better card for Crystal Beast than this one. So just to contextualize this card, it's almost like an entire Brave engine for the Crystal Beast archetype. So what it does is it like when it's on face on the field, it gives you an extra normal summon of a Crystal Beast. That's fine. That's like not really like the same as Brave, is it? But then the next effect says that you can destroy a Crystal Beast card in your hand or field to search for any crystal card. So Fateful Adventure does that. Like, it lets you search for any card, including a negate. And then it also says that if a Crystal Beast is placed in your back row while it's here, you can return this and a face-up card your opponent controls to the hand. That's Draco back, and this ends up in your hand every turn. Like, so you use this and you trigger it on your opponent's turn to bounce that thing, and then like you got this for the follow-up. It's so broken. It's just so good. And so some of the cards this card searches, because it searches crystal spells or traps. In fact, let's talk about Rainbow Bridge first. So Rainbow Bridge just says, add one crystal spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So it searches everything else you're about to see, but it doesn't search these, because this is not a crystal card, this is a Rainbow Bridge card. But yeah, so like these cards search everything. So like these are all your consistency cards. Oh, something else as well is that you can definitely just play Prosperity in this deck as well. Like Prosperity can take over like the Nibs, for example. I just don't have Prosperities like on hand, so I just didn't put them in. So like, yes, these search everything else in the deck. So Crystal Bond is absolutely spectacular. Like, this card is fucking great. So you activate it, and then it says add a crystal beast from your deck to your hand, and then you add a different crystal beast into your spell and trap zone from your deck. But like it has to be like a different name than the one that you had. So like, like almost always you're gonna add your Sapphire Pegasus, and then you're gonna put Zenith into the spell and trap zone, and then you're gonna have to activate Zenith's effect or Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon's effect, and then you'll special summon like your brick crystal beast, so like your Topaz Tiger in this deck's like as an example. And then you get to add Rainbow Dragon from your deck to your hand. So like this card, like even though we're not trying to summon it, it is actually like really important to have this card in our hand, because this next card is like, this card is insane. Like what's it called? Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates. So when this card was first revealed on, I wasn't a massive fan of it. I saw that like its effect was like brilliant. Like it basically searches or summons anything in you like from your deck. But like it says that you have to reveal this card from your deck, from in your hand to use it. And my first immediate issue with this is that when I was playing and testing with the Crystal Beast deck, is that I already felt that like this card's effect was the choke point already. And then so if that is the case and people like notice that this is the choke, then it makes this bad, because it means that you actually don't get the free Rainbow Dragon like you would. So yeah, but like after playing with this card, because I just sort of like ignored my initial instincts about this card and I just put it in the deck. This card is probably like, as soon as like this card touches your hand, this is now the best card in your deck, because every turn it just does whatever you want it to. So it can either summon a Crystal Beast from your hand, deck, graveyard or spell and trap zone, or it can search or send a Rainbow Bridge card from your deck to your hand, or to your hand or to the grave. So it searches this one. Or it searches like anything else. So you can use this to search for this, or you can use this to search for like Sapphire Pegasus, for example. Sapphire Pegasus and places one in the back row, and then like this will trigger. So like what's really nice about this is that like this card like searches for this one, and then when you've got this set on your opponent's turn, you can actually use this to trigger this on your opponent's turn. So you just use this to like summon the Sapphire Pegasus, and then this will bounce a card, and then look after the Sapphire Pegasus places. Something you do have to bear in mind though is that like if you are intending to use this card in this way, you have to like do it in an open game state, because something that like people might not necessarily be aware of just yet is that this card can miss timing. So like say for instance your opponent goes Cosmic Cyclone, target your face down, Awakening, and then you chain this card to summon Pegasus. Then what happens is like this resolves to summon the Pegasus, and then the Cosmic Cyclone resolves to banish this, and then your Pegasus has missed timing, which means that like your Rainbow Bridge won't actually then trigger. So you've got like, this is one of the issues with this deck, like you have to use this card in like an open game state, so you have to know what your opponent is about to do so that you can like stop them. But yeah, so that's like all the spell cards. Honestly, I think all the spell cards in this deck are great, and I think they're the reason and the incentive to want to play this deck, because they are very good. Something about the Crystal Master as well is that this is the only other card in the deck that isn't a Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon that can search for Rainbow Dragon. So like in some like weird scenarios, say like your Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon gets negated, you could potentially just normal summon this and use its effect to search for the Rainbow Dragon, and then that could potentially turn this card on in your hand. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the last cards are just the trap cards. So I'm playing 3 Crystal Miracle and 3 Crystal Conclave. Sorry about that. So Crystal Miracle is amazing. It's just a counter trap that says if you control a Crystal Beast card, you can activate it in response to a spell, trap, or monster effect, and it negates the activation and destroys it. And then it says that if this is in the grave and a Crystal Beast is placed into your back row, you can banish this from your grave to place a Crystal Beast from your deck or graveyard into your back row. So this card is like amazing, and like for the purpose of like a control deck, this card is like really good. And I think like when I saw this card, this is when I realised that this deck like probably won't be like a very good like mid-range or sort of like combo deck, and like this is the thing that sort of like confirmed to me that it should probably just be a control deck. Crystal Conclave, this is probably the coldest. This is probably the coldest card in this deck for me, because just like this quick play spell where you have to like flip this like preemptively, so like you have to be able to track and like know what your opponent's doing and what they're doing next so that you can use this effectively. You have to do the same with this as well. So when you can't just like activate this and then like the way that this card works is that you have to like send it while it's already face up. So like not only does this card just expose itself immediately, because like you basically have to use this in an open game state as well, and then the opponent literally just gets to read it and just see what it does, and then they can play around it. Whereas like if it wasn't like worded the way it was, then you could actually just flip it as a trap and just like interrupt them. The other thing with this card is that this card does like conflict with the dimension shifter, because this card like can't send itself from the field to grave to bounce in the first place if you can't send to the graveyard, because like this can't go to the grave under shifter, right? Which is like, yeah, it's obviously not like the most ideal, but I think like I'm still okay playing 3 of this card for now, because I don't think this card not being able to send itself is like the thing that I'm going to be worried about the most if I like resolve the shifter. But then again, if I'm against Sprite and I like drop shifter, I've set this, and like I really want this bounce, and I am cut off from the shifter. So like this is a card that I'm not too sure on yet. I think it definitely has a place. Like I probably never will cut this card like to like 0. I'll always play at least 1, I think, but I'm just not sure if I like really like it as a 3 of, especially because you can search anything you want at like in any hand basically. So yeah, that is the main deck. I'm just gonna show you like my EDF Pro screenshot of like my extra deck and side deck. Just because I haven't actually like got all the physical cards together yet. Like I've got junk like everywhere, so like I just haven't like found it all together yet. But yeah, so that's it for the profile.